Hello everyone, welcome back in another video. I am Vaibhav. Today date is 28th of September 2022, and in our today's video we are going to see subset of SQL. In our previous video we are briefly discuss about the SQL, that means structured query language, and why requirement of SQL in deeply in our previous videos. So in today's video, we are going to see subsets of SQL. That means what are the different what are the different subsets which are help to performing a different kind of operation in SQL. That means SQL is nothing but is one of the tool which are help to which are using for the store the data within a database. With the help of that tool, we are save or store the data within database in a particular manner. That means SQL can perform operation of storing in the form of rows and columns. That means suppose when we are using a Java as a language, that Java can having Java is a object oriented language. That's why it's create object. It's create the data in the form of object, and we have to store that data in our database. That's why within our database we are using SQL. That SQL requires format of data within the format of row and column. So that's why we are using a different kind of translation system with it. So in today's video we discuss subsets in SQL. That means the parameter which are required for manipulation or changing or any kind of communication or getting and setting the information from the database by within the SQL. So there are mainly four subsets are there. The four subsets are DDL, that means data definition language, DML, that means data manipulation language. After that, third one is a DCL, that means data control language, and fourth one, that is the TCL, that means uh, transactional control language. We can see all those languages one by one, and what are the different kind of method or what are the different kind of functions they are containing. Let's see. First one, DDL. DDL stands for data definition language. That means when we are creating any database, that time we have to give the create command for the creating a table. That means what kind of data we have to store. Suppose if we have to storing a data for the data, we are creating a database for the student. That time it containing a unique roll number of that particular student's name, student mark, and date of birth of student. So these all data can be we have to store in our database. That time we have to create the particular table within that database. That time we have to use that particular commands. So the for that functioning or definition for that table, that means how many columns within that table or how many functionality. That means we have to we have to remove the particular data column. That means we no need of date of birth of student. That time we have to remove that particular column from the database. Like that we have to performing different definitions commands on our database. That's why we use a DDL, that means data definition language. So data definition language can contain some different types of functionality, like the first one is the create. We are using a create for the create the table. We have to write query for the creating table. We only have to write the create, and then we have to give the name of that particular table. After that we have to specify the columns. That means with the help of data with the help of that particular name of table and the data type for that particular data, we have to ensure that data and data type of that particular column, and we have to mention the number of columns within that table. That's with the help of that create we can able to create the row columns structured within that our database. That means we are able to create that table within our database. After that, the next our feature, that is the alter. With the help of alter, we have to able to make any changes in our database. That means as we discussed, we have to remove any particular column from our table. that time we have to use a particular command as an alter. With the help of alter, we can do the alteration. That means we are able to add the any column or remove any column or remove any particular data or any manipulation within our database, that we can perform by using a alter. After that, the next one is the drop. Drop is nothing but it's a function same like a delete command. That means with the help of drop, we can easily delete the table or we can easily delete the database. That means the whole schema can be deleted only by using the drop. With the help of drop, we can drop the any particular row or particular table or particular database by using a drop command. After that, the next one is the truncate. Truncate command. So within truncate command, there is some different functionality. The when we are using a truncate, that time the data which is stored within that column, that data should be flushed. That means it containing only name of that columns. We are creating the database for the student. That time we can write as a ID, name, marks. So that can remove the flush the data which is stored within that column. It remains only that column names as ID, name and marks. It remains that only headers of that particular table and flush the all data within that database. So these are functionality which are comes under the DDL. After that, the next type is that DML. Within the DML stands for data manipulation language. Manipulation language is within that name, that is the manipulation. That means we have to manipulate anything. That means we have to giving the functionality like we have to add the data, we have to remove the data, we have to update, we have to delete, we have to merge. So that kind of features comes under the DML. Let's see what are the features comes under it. So first one is the select. That means by using the select, we are able to read the whole table or we are able to uh, uh, retrieve the whole table within the database. That means when we use select, it show whole table is in a database. We have to provide the data table name within that command and we are using a select. For by using that select, we are able to see or read the whole table within the database. After that, the next one is a next one feature is the insert. We are adding a data as per our requirement. That means suppose there is a table of 100 students. We are adding again. We have to add again and again students within that database. Suppose one more student is come that having roll number 101 and we are putting that data within a database by using a insert command. By using insert command, we are able to pass the values into the database. That values are in terms of that which are the parameter of our column. That is the parameter like the ID, name or marks. This parameter we have to fulfill in the terms of value and we are able to insert that particular value within that our database by using insert feature. After that, the next one is a update. Update stands for when we have to manipulate any particular data within our database. That means we have to change that data or we are putting some data instead of that particular data. Suppose there is one student and we are having that ID number, but we have to allocate that ID to the another student. That means we have to update that we have to update that data of student instead of that previous student. That time we can directly pass the ID of that particular student and database can find out that ID and directly change the data which is previously stored about that student. It can update that data for the new student. After that, the next feature is the delete. By using the delete, we are able to remove all the data from the database. That means it flushed all our data, each and every row and column from each and every row from our database. That is the feature of data. After that, the next command is the merge. When we are using a merge, that time we have to perform the operations like update, insert or delete. Suppose we are using a merge command. That time we have to check all those parameters by using a merge. Suppose we are entering any one more student within that our database that time suppose that data is present within that our database, and instead and again we have to again insert that data. That time it perform a operation of update. That means it change that data and particular data, and it put that data over that previous data. That means it update that particular data when the key is matched. That means every SQL user or every database are having particular key for the communication for the purpose of data exchange. After that, suppose that data is not present within our database. That time by using merge we are able to insert the data within that database if that data is not present in database. Or if suppose in condition that key is not matched, that means the each and every system are having its personal own ID and password. That means this particular key, if that key is not matched within that scenario, it delete or remove that particular command for the specific. So that is the functionality of merge. After that, let's we go for our third type. The third type is DCL. DCL stand for data control language. That control language is nothing but it's giving and allowing the accessibility for the particular user or for the particular um, implementer within the database. So in that DCML, there are some functionality comes like a grant. So grant can perform that operation that can be user provide the access for the uh, enter within the database. That means by using a grant we are allowed to the user to enter within the database. That means we giving the permission for the particular user to enter within our database. After that, the next one feature is a revoke is a opposite for the grant. That means the which permission is already given to the particular user, by using revoke we remove that permission from that user and we are denying the access of data of that particular user. After that, the next feature is a deny. We are using the deny feature to avoid the accessibility of data for any particular user. That means when we are using a deny for a particular user or particular key, that user cannot be able to access or cannot be apply for the data within our database. Then it continuing some more different features like executive as a statement. Different features are there. Let's discuss. After that, we can go for our next and last point. That is our fourth type. That is TCL. So TCL stands for Transactional Control Language. So transactional control language means it provides the some particular point of functionality. That means it provides the beginning point, or it provides the rollback feature. It provides the uh, coming transitional point or commit point. That means the checkpoint, or it provides the save transaction. That means there is the save points are there. So within our TCL, the first point is being transaction. So being transaction can provide the starting point for the particular database. That means it give a starting point for the at initial level. It gives a initial point for the particular by using a being transaction, and get the connection between user and database. After that, the next feature is the comment transaction. That means it can check that the operation is performing on our database is done or not. That means it check out that operation is done. That time it make end of our operation by successfully transaction. That means by using comment transaction, it our if our function is done, it make that function end that function and make it as a successful transaction. After that, the next one is a rollback transaction. Rollback transaction is a particular function like that. It work like a loop. That means we have to give some particular parameters for the functionality for repeatability. That time, suppose we are initialize that parameter as again for the beginner transaction. Suppose that any function is performing on our SQL, that function get done. If we have to do that function again and again, that time we have to pass that rollback transaction, and we can pass by using a being transaction. That means it will give that initial or starting point after the completion of that function, or we can also use a save point. That means after the functionality of their whole working of their function, it again go for the save point and it store the data. After that, the last one is the save transaction. The save transaction means save transaction can store the set the save point. That means when the retrieving throughout the table, user can access that database and it using a save point. That means that data can be stored uh, within their transactions. So that is the whole all four subset of SQL which we are briefly discussed within that video. The four subset of SQL are like we can say summary of the whole video. The four subsequels are DDL, DML, DCL, and TCL, and that containing a feature like DCL containing a create, alter, drop, and truncate, and DML are containing function like the select, insert, update, delete, merge, and our DCL containing the functions like grant, revoke, deny, and our last one, that is our TCL, can containing the function like being transaction, committed transaction, rollback transaction, and save transaction. So that is overall about subset of SQL. Thank you.